Today we're making something tiny, adorable, and secretly useful. This little crochet flower can hold earbuds, tiny treasures, lip balm, coins, jewelry, or anything small that always disappears into the bottom of your bag. The best part, it's great for yarn scraps and works up surprisingly fast. So grab your hook and let's create this flower pouch together. You will need 3 colors of yarn. I will be using 100% cotton today. A scissor, some stitch markers or safety pins will work, and I like to use a tapestry needle to weave in my ends, but you can use your hook. I will be using a 5mm. I start this project with a magic ring, but you can use 4 to 6 chains joined together for your ring. We will then work 3 chains onto the ring that will count as our first double crochet stitch, and then 15 additional double crochets for a total of 16 stitches. Once those are complete, tie off your first color and we will move to the next round with a new color. Now, the next color you are actually going to work between stitches on the next round, not in the top of the stitches. So I've tied on and I've slip stitched between 2 of the stitches, and now we are going to do a cluster. So the first cluster is 3 chains. Then you're going to go into the same spot, yarn over and come through, yarn over, go through 2. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again, go through the same spot, yarn over, come through, yarn over, go through 2 loops, yarn over, go through all 3, and then it is 2 chains in between each cluster. And the next spot that we're going to start with is yarn over, and you're going to have 2 stitches in between, 1, 2, so I'm going to go right there, and I'm going to work that end in as I go. All right, to start the next cluster, as I said, we're going to work into that spot right there. You're going to yarn over, go through that spot, and yarn over and come through, yarn over and go through 2 loops. You'll have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through the same spot, yarn over, come through, yarn over, go through 2 loops, 3 on your hook, yarn over, go through the same spot, yarn over, come through. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on your hook, yarn over, go through 2. Now you'll have 4, yarn over, go through all 4, and that is the next cluster. And of course, we are going to have 2 in between, and then you are going to work into this spot right here. So you're going to have 2 stitches in between each of these clusters, continue all the way around, and I'll see you at the last cluster. So let's just finish off this last one. And then, of course, we need 2 chains to finish off this round. And then you are just going to slip stitch that into the top chain from the beginning, and then tie that off, and we will start on the next color. For the next round, I have tied my next color into the top of the cluster. So you should be able to see that here are my 2 chains. There is the top of my cluster, 2 chains, top of my cluster. So tie in to the top of your any cluster and just do a slip stitch around. There we go. And now we are going to be working in between the clusters and then also in the top of this stitch right here from our first round that is between the 2 clusters. So let's get that started. So what I want you to do is we're starting with a half double crochet. So yarn over, go through, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. And that is the first stitch that we place around our second layer, or for me it's the green. Now we're going to work into the top stitch of the first round, and to do that we're going to put 3 double crochets, and I'm just going to work over that tail, 3 double crochets right into that stitch. So there's 1, there's 2, and there is 3. And then to finish off, we are going to put a half double crochet again around our second layer right there. Half double crochet in around that green. So I'm not going into the yellow, I'm going into the green, and a half double crochet. Then to finish off that sequence, we are going to do a slip stitch right into the top of the cluster. We're going to work that whole sequence again, starting with our half double crochet, 3 double crochets into the top stitch between the 2 clusters of the first round, and then end it with a half double crochet. I'm going to continue that all the way around, and I will meet you right here. Just wanted to show you that when you are doing that last half double crochet and going through here, make sure that you're not going in between the previous stitch. Make sure that you are clear of those stitches when you're doing that half double crochet. I noticed I have done that a few times and it just didn't turn out as nice in the front. All right, I am about to place my last flower petal, I will call it. So that's a half double crochet and 3 double crochets into the top stitch of that first row between the clusters. 2, 3, and then a half double crochet around the green, making sure I do not pick up, get between those stitches in the back. I almost did. Half double crochet, and then to finish off this round, you are going to go back to the same spot that we started and just make a slip stitch and tie that off, and you get this beautiful floral motif. And then we need to make another. Now that we have 2 made, we need to put them together. So to make it a little bit easier, I'm just going to use a couple of stitch markers, and I am going to take the wrong sides and put them in so the right sides are out. And I am going to go in between the petals, so right there and right there. And I'm going to do that on one side and then on another side, just to make it a little bit easier while I'm stitching these together. You could also tie them together or use some safety pins. And now we'll get started putting them together. The next thing we're going to do is work on 1/2 of our flower motif and also add our cord for attaching it to a bag or whatever it is you want to attach it to. So strategically, I have tied on 2 petals away from one of my stitch markers and only on 1/2. So from here, I am going to just do a slip stitch, and then I am going to single crochet in the tops of all the stitches until we hit in between the 2 petals, which is right in the next stitch. So right there is where I'm going to start my cord. Now from here, I am going to chain, probably 40 chains is about appropriate. And so once you have those done, we will meet back to reattach it. All right, I have my 40 chains completed, and then I am going to take the end of that chain and I'm going to slip stitch that into the same spot that we just ended. So just slip stitch that in. And then we are going to continue to chain, or sorry, to single crochet all the way over to where my stitch marker is. And then from that point on, we are going to do the single crochets just like we've been doing, but we are going to grab both sides and single crochet them together. All right, I am at the last one right here to pull those two sides together. But in order to not have a gap right here, I am going to go in this side where I started and in the back. I'm going to pull those two sides together there. Now it looks like a nice seamless edge. And then I am going to just put single crochets along the back. So that we have our opening. And then when I get to, whoops, missed right there. When I get to this spot right here, I don't want to put a stitch in that center one. Instead, I want to put a chain, just chain one, because we need a spot to put this cord through. And then continue, skip that center one, and then continue to put your single crochets for the rest of this final petal. Right here. And then to finish that off, I'm going to tie off and weave in my end. Work that end through in a couple of directions to make sure it stays secure. Congratulations, your tiny flower pouch is complete. Thank you for crocheting with me today, and as always, remember, just keep creating. If you enjoyed this project, I've picked out a few more creative tutorials for you on the screen right now, including more crochet flowers, a butterfly motif we turn into a bookmark, and beginner-friendly drawing tutorials. Choose your next project, and I'll see you there.